I always had alcohol around, hanging out with friends, $9 bottles of vodka, broke high school kids, and someone that looked old enough to buy it. It was just something to do. I didn't view myself as someone suffering from depression, but I've been a more than casual drinker most of my adult life and started using cocaine. Pretty much all of last year I was drinking anywhere from 3 to 6 glasses of bourbon a night. And I worked from home. I was drinking during the day. Didn't have to wait till I drove home to pour myself a drink, and it just kind of became my life. I just did it. Me and my wife went to a concert festival out in the desert. I drank an extremely excessive amount and was using.
Justin was acting very erratic, and I remember he was just getting a lot more kind of aggressive with me, and I didn't really understand, and I would tell him like, hey, I didn't like that, don't do that, and he was pushing me off kind of a lot. Later on it progressed. He did end up getting quite physical with me. Our friends had to remove him off of me and called the cops, and he did get arrested. I remember sitting there just thinking, here I am, another statistic. Here I am who had a father that was an alcoholic, and he was abusive with my stepmom, and I watched it. I saw it happen, and I'm thinking, how did this happen? How did this happen?
I was so intoxicated. I only blacked out from drinking twice in my life, and that was one of them. And that's kind of the worst part. I put people I love in danger and had no recollection of it. When I found out, I was disgusted with myself and wanted to change. We came home and poured out all the alcohol from the bar, and the kids came home later that day and they cheered. That was a nail in the coffin for me. I will never take another drink because of that day. And then I used again in January of this year.
After that day, I prayed with him, and right after we prayed, he said, I have to be honest with you. And then he told me flat out, I am a cocaine addict. I have been using a lot more than I would care to admit, especially in the last year. Every time that I didn't come home, every time you wondered where I was, every time you were worried or you thought that I had used, I did. After the shock wore off, I let him know, if you actually want help with this, then you need to go to the hospital. We were able to set him up with the outpatient program at Loma.
Justin was very anxious coming in. He had never had any kind of mental health support before. Societally, men are typically raised that the only appropriate emotion to feel is anger. So Justin had a challenging time identifying anything outside of that realm of anger, frustration, hurt. Once we really dove in and kind of uncovered what was driving that anger, it felt like his heart kind of broke open at that point.
I feel like that program kind of just exposed me to myself. I was a very different drug user. I would isolate and hide. I've locked a lot of that away and don't visit it very often. That life and that person is dead to me, and I don't have any desire to see, think, or hear from it again.
The thing about feelings like shame and guilt is it's information that says, I don't want to do that again. That isn't actually who I am. That's not actually what I believe. And I think that's why it can be so uncomfortable to look back at some of the things we've done, because it doesn't feel true to who we are now.
You're always going to feel guilty, but I don't live life with shame. I'm not carrying that around with me. And once you're able to drop the shame and understand that that doesn't define your future, I really think that's the first stepping stone into growth.
He got really clear about what his values and priorities were. I remember very clearly that family was hugely important to him, and I think that's really what allowed him to stay focused. This type of work isn't something that you can be passive about and hope that change happens. Healing is not linear. It takes a lot of trial, error, learning, growing.
I remember we had gotten into a tiff, and I was dealing with my own healing journey through this process, and he was in the closet, and the door was cracked a little, and I kept hearing like a dragging noise. I peeked in, and then I walked away because I realized what he was doing was a grounding exercise. If you sit down close your eyes, do your breath work, and then feel the ground. It grounds you. It helps you not feel overwhelmed and to center and focus and calm your nervous system. He was using a tool that he had learned from the program and applying it in our lives, in our marriage, in our family. And he was doing it on his own without me helping him, without other people. It was just him in his own silence. And I feel like I saw and really saw him and who he actually was inside for the first time in that moment.
Our home's stronger than it ever was. I like being around my family. I like being looked at as a father and a good husband and a present person. And I'm back to feeling like I'm a person that my wife can rely on. Amy's my best friend. I truly feel that, especially now. She's the strongest person I've ever met in my life. She's the most supportive person and the most loyal person, and she doesn't give up, and she didn't.
I'm beyond proud of my husband. To see him take his life back, to see him really start living, and for our marriage to grow and flourish and be on a level that's unbreakable, to be the father that he is now, and to see how our kids look to him and go to him, and to save my husband from this detrimental life that he was living. It's life-saving, honestly. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
In order to beat this, you have to go all in and put everything you have behind it, and it has to be 100% of your focus. It took every bit of what I had to make it happen. I didn't just give in to it. I didn't give up. I didn't accept that that's who I was going to be.
Help is out there. You're worth it. You're worth the help. And it's never too late to make a change.